all ready. Yeah, ready to go. All right.
Quiet on the set! Dim the lights and silence your cell phones. My name is Michael Falkner, and it's showtime at your Weekly Podioplex, brought to you by The Chronic Rift. Starting with the weekend's box office results for Monday, June 6th. At number 10 is last week's number 8, with the Kate Hudson romantic comedy Something Borrowed. Steady at number 9 is Angela Bassett and the comedy Jumping the Broom. Number 8 is last week's 7th place flick, romantic comedy Midnight in Paris. I'm seeing a pattern here. Let's break that up with some adrenaline and muscle cars with Fast 5, which slipped from last week's number 6 to end up at number 7. Taking the place of Speed at number 6 this week is the god of thunder himself, Thor, who in turn surrendered his number 5 spot to the ladies of Bridesmaids, which added another $12 million to its $107 million total. Maybe we should prepare now for Bridesmaids 2. The budget for this flick was a mere $32.5 million. Fourth in the running is Adventure on the High Seas and last week's number 3, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Captain Jack Sparrow gained another $18 million in ill-gotten booty to bring this fourth entry in the Disney Buena Vista franchise to $190 million. Rolling into third place is last week's runner-up, with Jack Black's animated Kung Fu Panda 2, which added $24 million in its second week of release to the overall $100 million total for DreamWorks and Paramount. Number 2 goes to last week's number 1, The Hangover Part 2. The total gross comes to $187 million with this week's $32 million edition, which is just over double the $80 million budget. But the big winners at the box office this weekend are The Mutants. Box office newbie X-Men First Class opened with $56 million toward its $160 million budget. It may or may not be seen as a success, as it attracted the least amount of ticket sales in the popular franchise, and only beat out the first film, X-Men, in opening weekend earnings. On the other hand, Fox execs are optimistically comparing this film to Batman Begins, which opened in 2005 to $48.7 million, but eventually finished its run with $205 million and a box office busting sequel. If you judge by fan reaction, however, it appears that the X-Men are back in force. This week's new movie offerings start with the J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg collaboration Super 8. When kids shooting a Super 8 movie in 1979 Ohio witness a train crash, their shock soon turns to feelings of suspicion and horror after disappearances and inexplicable events begin to take place in town. Super 8 is not yet rated. Also opening on June 10th is the comedy Judy Moody and the Not Bummer Summer, starring Heather Graham and relative newcomer Jordana Beatty. When her parents take an unexpected trip to California, third grader Judy Moody creates a series of dares in order to have the most thrilling summer of her life, joined by her way cool Aunt Opal and her little brother Stink. Judy Moody and the Not Bummer Summer is based on the children's series of books by Megan McDonald and is rated PG. Coming in limited release is the mockumentary Troll Hunter, which was previewed on the Chronic Rift's June 2nd in-review episode. After learning that real-life trolls exist after years of being covered up by a government conspiracy, a group of Norwegian film students set out to catch the creatures on camera. Troll Hunter is rated PG-13. Also in limited release is The Trip, not yet rated, a comedy following actor Steve Coogan on a tour of northern England's finest restaurants that turns into an exasperating assignment. The Blu-ray and DVD slate kicks off with True Grit, the Oscar-nominated remake of the 1969 classic. Starring Matt Damon and Jeff Bridges, True Grit is rated PG-13. On the TV front, we have 2 releases. The first is a complete third season of Breaking Bad, starring Bryan Cranston as a chemistry teacher turned meth maker. The second is the first season of The Big C, a comedy series starring Laura Linney as a 42-year-old school teacher who has always played by the rules until she received a life-changing medical diagnosis. Last but not least, 2 classics are making their way to Blu-ray. From 1975, The Man Who Would Be King stars Sean Connery, Michael Caine, and Christopher Plummer in an adventure based on the Rudyard Kipling short story. The Man Who Would Be King is rated PG. The Outlaw Josie Wales, starring Clint Eastwood, is also arriving on Blu-ray. This 1976 classic western tells a brutal tale of a Civil War veteran whose past comes looking for him, and is rated PG. Finally, we have the Quick Flicks. The live-action version of The Hobbit has titles and release dates for its 2-part story. The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey is scheduled for a December 14th, 2012 release, followed 1 year later by The Hobbit, There and Back Again on December 13th, 2013. The found-footage science fiction horror film Apollo 18, has been rescheduled for the 5th time. The Weinstein Company movie is now slated for a September 2nd, 2011 release. Based on a novel by Walter Tevis, the 1976 sci-fi drama The Man Who Fell to Earth will be re-released on June 24th to celebrate the film's 35th anniversary. The movie stars David Bowie as a humanoid alien who comes to Earth to find water for his dying planet. The Hunger Games book trilogy by Suzanne Collins is being adapted to film, but is rumored to be taking the Harry Potter route of splitting one book into 2 movies. Production studio Lionsgate has not yet addressed rumors that the popular trilogy will be covered over 4 movies, but the first film, starring Jennifer Lawrence, Liam Hemsworth, and Josh Hutcherson, is due in theaters on March 23, 2012. George Lucas's next cinematic project, the Tuskegee Airmen-centered film Red Tails, has an unofficial release window. With the news that Lucas's first non-Star Wars and non-Indiana Jones project in 20 years is being scored this month in Prague by composer Terence Blanchard, director Anthony Hemingway announced via Twitter that the film will be released in January 2012. Red Tail stars Terrence Howard, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Bryan Cranston. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, please take a moment to surf on over to chronicriff.com and leave a note in the forums. You can also leave a voicemail at 888-886-9010 or write to John at chronicriff.com. This is Michael Falkner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you at the theater.